the streets of Laredo as I walked out in Laredo one day. I spied a young cowboy all wrapped in white. Hey, Cesaro's here. Alex is in. Whackhammer. Sheeps. Hoodie Stove. Lude's here. Shane Brightheart's in. Gone. Haroon. TKD. Saints is back. Nestor's in again. Angelic Abomination. I kind of like that name. ETE Gaming. Ultra. Evil Dan. Midoriya. Dale Trig. Puppy, my favorite. Jinja. You got a notification again? Wow, what the hell's going on, Cesaro? You used to never get them, even when everybody else was. Hey, Jacob Howell, good to see you again, pal. TJ's in, Glenn's back, Colton's in, Jamie's here, Mackie, Kerferian, Minetta is my master. Yeah, you see that? Jesse Murray's bringing up there. Now YouTube's going to demonetize videos depending on the content of the comments as well, because that's a good idea, because we all know that nobody will go look for a YouTuber they've got an axe to grind with and put comments in that would be grabbed by the automated system and get them demonetized. That won't happen at all. See, I got straight white males vote already. I was a wrestler, Nico, for many, many years. Just got too old. I would still like to go back for one last match. I just got to get in way better shape. I have no lungs right now. None. Zero. Zilch. Go to Jake Paul's comments and spam the N-word. Yeah, things like that are going to happen. Well, again, oh, thank you, James. See, James Benyon was the first one to... actually, though, I probably won't ask people... Once I'm elected, I'm not going to ask people to refer to me as President Williams. It'll just be President Curtis, or Prez, or hey you, something like that. Yes, that's absolutely a thing, Jamie. YouTube posted, or actually tweeted, I believe, both tweeted and posted, that because of what went on with those pedophiles that were like sending code to one another almost in the comment section, now you're going to have your videos demonetized for comments, of course, over which you have no control. So now they're just going to push towards more and more people turning the comments off, which takes the whole community element and atmosphere of YouTube, which is what the whole thing has been built on from the get-go, takes even more of it away. So, President Goosh Goosh. Yeah, I loved wrestling, Nico. I still, after all these years, still miss it every day. How much is Pewds up by now? I know it got close there for a while. I haven't checked in the standings lately. President Uncle Daddy, that works. That works, Jamie. If Vince offered me a WrestleMania spot, who would I want to wrestle? Of current workers, Michael? Well, if Undertaker's still coming back for his yearly WrestleMania dalliance, I always thought it would be cool to have gotten to work Mark Calloway someday. I just big admirer of his. Excuse me. Yeah, Midoriya. Actually, I never used to sub to PewDiePie because my take on it was it's PewDiePie. You're not going to forget about him, and I do enjoy his videos sometimes, but it's just something that if I had some extra time, I might see what he's up to. But now I have subscribed to him now that we got the whole thing with the tea bags there. It's only a few thousand now, Pickle Senate. God damn it, they're going to pass them, aren't they? Raping people's age while dressed as fat Japanese cartoon characters be legal. Boy, I'll have to work on that one, Lude. I think there might be some red tape to be encountered and defeated in that one. President or Hokage. Ooh, so hell. He says President or Hokage. Yeah, Hokage's cooler. Yeah, Hokage is definitely a cooler title. Yep. Andrew Yang? No, I haven't, Gigi. Who? Andrew Yang. I don't know who that is. I have not heard of Andrew Yang. The masks from the background. Oh, the old background we used to have? All those masks are in the drawer now. I used to wear them when we were doing... That's what I had them for, when we used to do the Omega videos. The Goosh Kage. I like that, Lude. I like that. Gush Kage. That's a nice ring to it. Yeah, well, or like Michael, like Lud said, Gush Kage. That's a good combo right there. Just rename the presidency to Hokage. I'm all for that. Well, you know what? Once I'm president, well, not that they've ever soured, but certainly the relations with Japan will be of utmost importance because they provide us with the anime. Pirate King, Kurt. Pirate King. The bald Hokage. I like that, Zarek. Yeah, I could deal with that. President Gush Pamfu. Poppy says. Jamie says, Mr. Hokage, I also want to help you with national defense. 1 week will be all it takes for me to set people straight, and you know which bloody week I mean. Well played, Jamie. Well played. Bernie Sanders running again next year. Any thoughts? I'm not a fan, Aaron. I don't like Bernie. I don't like socialism. I think socialism is an abysmal form of government. I think democratic socialism is just semantics. It's still socialism. And I don't have even further than that for me personally. I just don't have a lot of respect for Bernie because I think Bernie fits with the whole socialist thing. Well, if you look into his history, he's never really had to work. He's always been in politics. He's never had a real job, never faced the real world things that we all do, that the majority of us do, I should say. And no, I'm not to put it mildly, I'm not a fan of Bernie at all. And Lifer says, okay, Bernie will die of old age for the election anyway. I'll give him that. He seems to be in good shape for his age. Well, I think he's 77. He's in pretty good shape for his age. He's crazy, but he's in pretty good shape for his age. Yeah, and again, I couldn't be a more polar opposite politically than I am of Bernie Sanders, AOC, and those type. Now, even though I lean right currently, that's mainly because I don't like what's happening to the left. There are a lot of politicians on the Democratic side that I don't have issue with, but we're talking into the socialism, then I got a problem. Still dibs on being your Lewinsky, Joe says. There's a Pewds versus T-Series anime? I guess that shouldn't be surprising. Oh, goddamn adulting, Michael. I understand. Thanks for being in while you could. Adulting's a pain in the ass. Lifer says, what happens if Bernie wins the election but died before picking a running mate? Well, he's got to have the running mate first, so geez, I can't even imagine. That would be that's the worst possible scenario to me, Bernie winning. You know, I could certainly, from the left, Biden I think would beat Trump. I can live with Biden. Outside of him, I think the current crew of Democrats are going to have trouble, other than, like I said yesterday, I think Amy Klobuchar, I think when people learn more about her, I think she'll do well. I don't know that she can come from as far back as she is currently polling to win the nomination, but it's a long way to go. Sure, Glenn, you can be Speaker of the House. Champagne socialist. Yeah, yes, Sam. Yeah, a guy that owns 3 houses. And we're not talking rat traps. Three gorgeous houses is living basically the capitalist American dream. He's become a very wealthy man without ever having to do anything but work for the government, work in government. I mean it. And this is the guy. Yeah. Well, again, you guys know how I feel about him. Well, see, the thing with my presidency, Zarek, is we'll have these between now and 2020. We'll have these streams regularly. Everybody from around the country and around the world can ask me anything they want. There will be no doubts about my stance on anything. You can come back to one of these videos and get my stance. And I don't, unlike career politicians, I don't change my stance via the political wins. I have changed my mind on things, but it's because somebody's come to me and proven where either what I said was wrong or that the other side made more sense. But I never changed because the political winds changed. I'd rather hand the country over to Disney than have any politician running it. Let Mickey and Minnie take charge. Yeah, I'm with that. Would you make Swiss great again? I think I'd be good at international relations because I'm fascinated by other people, everybody else's cultures. I guess I'd be like a little kid. It's like, yeah, we'll talk about that stuff later. Hey, can I see the Alps? Walt Disney severed frozen head for president. Hello, future president. What would you do with ISIS? Listen, I think right now, currently, and it's not just America. I think worldwide, I think ISIS is being dealt with pretty effectively right now. I mean, you can't put a lot of fault in that. They're pretty much decimated. I mean, they still do exist. There was a ISIS accredited attack not too long ago. And unfortunately I can't remember which country it was in. But anyway, they still obviously exist. But I think overall the battle against ISIS is going well. I don't see any. In other words, as president, I wouldn't change the course. It's things are going well against ISIS. Emperor Mickey take over. Yeah, Jamie, I'm with that. The Shaggy memes. Yeah, Ultra Instinct Shaggy is. It's Ultra Instinct Shaggy. It's just next level. President Spaz Syndrome Senpai. Wafer says Shao Tucker for president. That's one. Well, I don't want to jump in there too quick. I was going to say that's one individual I could say I would be more hesitant to vote for Shao Tucker than even Bernie, but I don't know. It's still close. Shaggy versus Yamcha, who wins? The winner is Shaggy-cha. If that mouse only would have a Holocaust 2 gaslit boogaloo. Yeah. Yeah, with the mouse's background. Yeah, Walt was not a friend. Yeah. The people will shout, "Are you the grandpa of Trump?" Yeah. I don't know, guys. Again, you guys know how I feel about Trump. I voted for him because I'm in agreement with a lot of his policies as a person. He's just... And he had such a golden opportunity in winning an election that nobody thought he could win, and he was in the catbird seat to make a lot of positive change and really institute himself as a legend in America. And instead he's gone this batshit crazy. His biggest problem is ego. He's just so full of ego. He's such an egotist. That's Donald Lewis says, "Did you hear about the ISIS bride?" Yes. How left the UK at 15, married an ISIS fighter, now she wants back. And the Home Office stripped her from... Yeah, absolutely. And I agree 100% with that. Why would they return citizenship? That's not a mistake you make. That's not a mistake you overlook. Oh, you know what? I decided to go join ISIS and try and kill as many of you infidels as I can. Oh, hey, you know what, infidels? I changed my mind. I'm cool now. Yeah, okay. Basically, Wolverine says Trump is a douche, but at least he isn't Hillary. And that's basically the sentiment that won him the presidency. I'm convinced of that. I always have been. It's, because Trump's poll numbers, even when he was running, were never good. It was just, guy's kind of a dick, but at least not as bad as this cycle. That's basically how it went. Andrew Yang, I'll have to see. I'll have to look it up, Gigi. What's he running as? Independent? Is he running under the banner of a party, or what's he doing? Dasbro makes a good point. And now, if I were to go back on my promises, I can always just blame the memory. I don't remember saying that. She should be let back in or tortured for info. Yeah, that's Dark Kings. I mean, that's just just even having the gall to ask to be forgiven for something like that. You went and joined ISIS, and it's like, no, we're okay now. Let's just forget about it. Give me a break. Lifer says Trump didn't win because he was Trump. Trump won because the Democrats are on every drug possible. Well, and you think about it too. Think about it this way too, guys. Trump's approval ratings still hover in the mid 40s at best. So he's not certainly a popular president nationwide by any means. You would think 2020 should be the easiest win in forever for the Democrats, and they're doing everything they can to blow it. All they have to do, and I've seen this online a bunch of places, so I don't want to seem like I'm the one who thought of it. All they had to do is not be crazy. And what do? They immediately start letting all the attention go to somebody like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and it's like, here comes a big batch of crazy. Now you've got a good hunk of the nation going, oh, I don't know about voting Democrat because they're influenced by things like the Green New Deal. And then instead of the established Democrats, instead of saying, when asked about this Green New Deal, instead of saying, okay, well, she's a freshman member of Congress, she's got to learn to slow down a little bit and think things through, and actually when you come up with a plan, have a plan, not a wish list. Instead, they jumped on board with it. I think people like Kamala Harris have done themselves an possibly irreparable damage by jumping on board that whole Green New Deal thing, because that's not going. We all know there's a sector of society that's going to vote Republican, there's a sector that's going to vote Democrat. It's the people in the middle that swing the elections. Those people in the middle saw the stupidity of that Green New Deal. And when you've got legitimate Democratic candidates jumping on board with it, I think you hurt yourself a lot. A lot. Again, I don't know if you come back from that. That's what we were saying, Nestor. Maybe I'll change when I'm elected. I'll change the title from president to Hokage. We talking the anti-farting cow free money for those who don't want to work and ban planes deal? Exactly, Chrome. Exactly. And then the worst thing is, I'm hearing, Gigi says, I'm from the Bay Area and can't stand Kamala Harris. I'm hearing from a lot of people in California that don't like her. I used to live in the Bay Area, Gigi, in Vacaville. For any of you who don't know, it's right between Sacramento and San Francisco on Interstate 80. Yeah, I put Overlord up, didn't I, Lude? Oh, shit, did I forget it? Hold on a second, guys. Let me take a pause for a second. I meant to put Overlord up, and I did not. I was sure I had done that. Oh, no, I know what happened. That's right when they yelled to me from downstairs. Hold on, guys. I'm away from the chat for just a second. Let me put this up. Thank you for reminding me. That happens to me a lot. That's the unseen things you guys don't see that goes on here, is I get called away constantly, and with my memory, I completely forget what I was doing. But let me just get this Overlord episode posted at the Goose real quick. It doesn't take long. It's just a matter of moving the information over. God damn it. Thank you for reminding me, though. Yep, that's what it was. And the dogs were going nuts downstairs. I couldn't figure out what it was. We had staff coming in today that I didn't know about. So I went down to see what was going on there and then forgot all about it. All right. Almost done, guys. Overlord is so good right now, too. The episode I watched today, the one I'm posting right now, is the beginning of the darkness turn there. And then today it was like, holy crap. What he did Ainz decreed for that poor little blonde girl, Arch, or whatever her name was. That was rough. I gotta admit, I laughed a little bit. That was rough. I'm caught in a conundrum there, because I like Ainz and company. I like the violence. I like the decrees, but you feel a little bad. Okay. And again, sorry about that, guys. Lewis, it's funny you brought that up. He says, is it just me, but can anyone else remember the old mobile live streams? Well, I got to get out soon and do some mobile live streaming for you guys, because I got a whole new setup, because, again, we're going to be incorporating the Disney stuff in. So when I go to Disney, I plan on doing lots of live streams. Well, I'm going next month to go down and start getting all the video footage I need for bunches of Disney videos. So I'm going to live stream while I'm there. So I upgraded my phone. It just came in. Still got the plastic on it, because I got my wife going to look for a screen protector for me. And I did. I've already got the case ordered for it. I'm like a kid. I get all excited. And it's Meruem and our little blind girl on the case. So anyway, what I was getting to is I'm going to go out and do some remote live streaming here before I go down there to work out any kinks. Have you guys tell me how everything looks. Try some different things with it, and you guys let me know what you think works best. Damien says, Bernie may be personally socialist, but his goals are based on socialist, for example, Sweden, no nationalization, just more government spending and progressive taxes on rich. Right, but, and now, again, here, because my memory is bad, I've looked all this up. Sweden's tax rate, because of that, is substantially higher than America's, and to be honest with you, Damien, in any event, trying to compare our economy with Sweden's, with the difference in population, and more importantly, the difference in population density, there's no comparison. There's no. It's totally apples and oranges. Just because something works somewhere else doesn't mean it works in an entirely different situation. And I am not for progressive taxes on the rich. The rich in America are currently paying their fair share, even though people don't want to hear that. If you want to close up loopholes, I got no problem with that at all. But I do have a problem with government stealing anybody's money. I don't care at what level you get. You can say over 10 million, whatever. And this is how Bernie and Cortez and they all try and play it off. Well, it only goes to 70% after they made 10 million. It's not your money. It's stealing. These people, as long as these people who are rich earn their money legally, didn't do anything wrong along the way, you don't have a right to it. What the hell is this stuff? It's bullying. That's basically, it's bullying in its most basic form. There's more of us that aren't rich than are rich, so let's go take your stuff from you. That's exactly what it is. And it comes from people who are supposedly the kind, gentle, caring sorts who, are very anti-bullying, very anti-oppressiveness. And it's like, well, there's a lot of us here, so give us your money. You're holding them up. Bernie has celebrated multiple failed countries. Yes, calling them socialist paradises before they fell. For example, Venezuela. Yes, he has, Chrome, and is on video. Fortunately, having done it. Oh, he had great words. Many, I think, back in the 70s for Russia, for everything but our capitalist system, basically. Maz says, Bernie constantly rants about how large businesses need to be taxed more, but this retard fails to realize that low business tax is what keeps the Nordic countries afloat. I've read that too, Maz, and you, obviously, Maz knows much better than I. I've read that as well. This is another one of the reasons I enjoy having these conversations on here, because we can hear from people who are living it. Yeah, and just in basic logic, Maz, if you overtax the businesses, that will have a trickle-down effect, because the business is not just going to keep absorbing those losses. So that means they're either going to cut staff. It's just like when they talk about Bernie and his $15 minimum wage. Okay, that might be potentially conceivable without destroying too much of the economy in places like New York or Los Angeles. If you tried to implement that here, first, where I live, first thing you do is you put every small business out of business. They wouldn't be able to afford it, not these little mom and pop shops. There is an economic price to be paid for anything like that, and he just completely ignores that concept. It's just like, well, just do it. Well, if $15 an hour is now the minimum, the economy works on a curve to get people to work at certain jobs that are above what the minimum wage should be. Now those go up. Everything you pay for goes up. So it's perfectly socialism. It's a way to get the people who have jobs and are working hard to pay for those who maybe are not. It comes down to the same thing. Right. Taxation is, I agree. I didn't see who said that, but it is, Chrome says, it's a necessary evil. I don't have a problem, as I said yesterday, I don't have a problem paying taxes as long as they're used properly. I mean, again, I want the things that taxes pay for. I want to have roads. I want to have a police department. And that's another thing. People will try and tell you, well, you don't believe in socialism. Well, it's all around you. Yes, you do, because you like your police department, you like your fire department. That's not socialism. Those may be social programs in the broadest sense, but socialism is when you start having the government operate any type of function that can be served by the private sector, such as healthcare. And again, when I say that, I think Medicare does is a decent program as far as government programs go, because we know a lot about it with my daughter being multiply disabled. They do a pretty good job with it. Do I think everybody should have the opportunity to have healthcare? Of course, but you don't go about that by destroying the system that's in place, the private healthcare system that's in place that works for a lot of people, and starting over. You work around what's already working, but again, that's not what socialists wants. Jesus says you are good at the politics level, but no public policy works like that. In metaphysical conjectures, you need to be less of a. You got to explain that better, Jesus. I can't respond. I'm not sure what you're saying, particularly with metaphysical conjectures. My politics rarely goes into the metaphysical. Can you just be president and take over with your wrestling skills? Yeah, folding chairs, Aaron. Folding chair shots, left and right. Cameron says, you're voting for Bernie's VP, he'll die days into office. Well, there's a lot of people, and on both sides of the aisle, that are saying basically he's just too old, which, hey, I'm not as old as Bernie. He's got 20 years on me, but I'm getting older. But you can make that case, too. I mean, I see what's going on with my mom. My mom is 82, has no disease, just turned 82, has no disease, has nothing diagnosed, but just age has destroyed her memory. And things like that happen when you get older. Now, if Bernie, let's see, he's 77 now. I think at the election, he'll be 79, I thought they said. So into his first term, by the end of his first term, if he got elected, he'll be older than her. And my mom's a very healthy woman outside of the fact that age has just defeated that part of her brain. And that happens to a lot of people. My favorite president is Rhea Gremery. Well, I'm on board with that, Igor. Yes, she is a quality president. Curtis, what is Amsterdam like? Very excited to go. Amsterdam, New York. It's all right. It's a cool little city, Louis. It's unfortunately gone downhill a lot. There's not much going on in the city itself. Everything is north of town now. All the shopping, everything like that, and it's mainly because there's a decent amount of gang activity, and it's a very depressed economy. Unfortunately, I worked there for many, many years. I'd like to say that wasn't the case, but unfortunately it is. Matt says, the only way Bernie has the slightest chance of being even slightly competitive is if the first thing he does is shit on socialists like Cortez, which he won't write. And did you see, Maz, that AOC is refusing to support him, which that kind of surprised me a little. I think, well, I shouldn't say it surprised me because I think AOC is so self-centered. I think she wants to keep any props that are given at all for herself. But again, it's taken a little while, but the more that comes out, the more times AOC opens her mouth, the more people realize, oh, okay, she's just an idiot, and just move on. Chris 2020 equals YouTube in America cannot copyright strike anime no more, especially ecchi anime. We'll get that'll be the first thing to get ironed out when I get in office is the copyright laws. Good point, Igor. Chrome, can I be your Lord of War and Science if you run for president? We'll make human experimentation on death row inmates fun again. Yay! Please. Yes, Slice? He says I can't, or he or she says I can't stand AOC. It's me either. I mean, and it's just because the whole concept of, and I don't care who it is on which side of the aisle, when you come up and all you are is an idea person. Hey, this is wrong. It should be like this. It should be like that. And then you say, well, how do we go about doing that? And you go, I don't know. Then I have absolutely less than zero use for it. And that's what she does. It's just like the whole Green New Deal. There's no way to pay for all of that. And a lot of it is conflicting. When you look at that Green New Deal, she wants to have this monstrous rail system built that's going to replace air travel at the same time that we're going to zero carbon emissions from our vehicles. What kind of equipment are you going to use to build the rail system, you insufferable moron? I mean, even within her own framework, she has things that cannot work together. She's just, and that stuff drives me insane. My opinion on the wall? My opinion on the wall is not so much on the wall. I am all for total border security, 100% border security. I'm just not convinced that a wall is always the best way to go. Now, I think we do need more sections of wall. There's a lot of people don't realize there's a lot of the border that is walled. I think there are more sections from what I've been able to read from people who work in immigration down there, that there are more sections that need some wall. But I would like to see the money spent on the physical wall as well as technology advances and everything else that the people down there need, that the feds down there need. I'm just not convinced a wall specifically is the best way to go. And that the wall still goes back to Trump's ego. And that's my problem with him. Because he won't back off it because he made such a big deal about it. And he's afraid his base will abandon him. He had the opportunity in these negotiations to be able to back off it and still get a lot of money for border security if it wasn't, all for a wall. But he won't do it because of his ego. It needs to be more streamlined and end the war on drugs, which caused a lot of social unrest in Mexico. Our path to citizenship needs to be more streamlined. I don't know what you can do to streamline a path to citizenship and stay safe too much, GD. I mean, I'm all for legal immigration, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that you got to have that intense system of scrutiny, especially nowadays. But I'm all for, people that come here the right way, absolutely. As far as ending the war on drugs, it depends on what you mean by ending the war on drugs. Am I in favor of people being able to put whatever they want into their body at any time? No, because then again, you're going to start affecting other people when these people are acting in a manner where their mind is diluted. I get asked about legalization of marijuana. It's not my thing. I don't have a huge issue with the legalization of marijuana, except in one instance. I would want, so we don't have to do like we do with alcohol, where over decades we've had to work to trying to get some decent drunk driving laws in place where the penalties were something decent. It needs to be stated, for me, you're going to legalize marijuana. If you are under the influence and driving and you get in an accident, I want prison time, state prison time with the big boys, because that's my concern. I don't care that people want to get buzzed. I don't care if people want to smoke a little pot. But as a society, we have the right to expect that you do it responsibly, so somebody else isn't victimized by it. That's my only caveat with legalization of marijuana. Crone was talking about the new Green Deal that was up on her website before she took it down when people saw how stupid it was. And she says, funny thing is, even if it's just an early draft, like she said, how do you explain giving money to those unwilling to work and ban farming cows? Yeah, that was bullshit. It was a lie. Oh, it's just an early draft. Well, first of all, even if it is an early draft, it still means at some point somebody within your circle wanted to try and figure out what to do with the farting cows and thought that it was a good idea to support those who are just unwilling to work, period. So at some point that was considered a legitimate part of your process. Just saying that's enough that she should never be taken seriously again. Executive order, the return of anti-haven. There you go. Zero says walls are outdated since the 15th century. Yeah, I think certainly as an only means of defending one's border, I agree, Zero. Because I think there are still places along the border, again, where a wall is a necessity. But as far as just saying, let's wall this off, no, I think there are much more effective ways of cutting out illegal immigration. Dark Slaver. Electromagnetic trains, maybe having more trains probably wouldn't be bad, but getting rid of planes and trucks and shit is in the answer. Right, 100%. And the thing is, it still costs. Well, we just found that out in California. Right as she was spewing about this stuff was when the whole California, that new high-speed train line that was supposed to run from San Francisco to L.A., it got shit canned because it was just too expensive. Now, that's one line in one state. And she wants to network the entire nation to basically have it supplant air travel. And the cost was so prohibitive in the most liberal state in the union they had to scrap plans of doing it because the cost was so high. It's exactly the same thing with single-payer health care. California tried to institute that last year. It had to be scrapped because they discovered that the cost was so high. It's not, and people act like they're surprised by the fact that the cost is so high. Oh, excuse me. M says, it's legal for recreational use in Vegas. I didn't know that till I went in October. Fun times. Yeah, see, and again, I don't have a problem with it being legalized as long as people are going to be held responsible for what they do in its use. Because, again, we know, I mean, pot doesn't turn you into a raving lunatic psycho killer, but it does slow your reflexes. So, to me, if you get good and buzzed and then go out driving your car, you're extremely irresponsible and you should be held responsible for that irresponsibility. Yeah, legalize it, regulate it, and treat it exactly like alcohol. Right, Glenn. Again, and that's what I agree with. In that, it's just sad that it took us, because I lived through it all, decades. When I was a kid, people get drunk drivings, and it was just like a ha ha ha. All the time, cops, especially if it was a small town, cop would stop you. Person's so drunk they can't even see straight, and they're like, "Come on, Jim, just go on home now." And it's like, that's bullshit. Jim's gonna kill somebody on his way home. And it took us decades to start actually, and still it hasn't gotten there far enough as far as I'm concerned, to start saying, listen, that is the ultimate irresponsibility. You're taking the chance on killing innocent people because you don't have the self-control to not drive your vehicle when you're impaired. And I just don't want the same thing to happen with anything else that gets legalized. I want those laws to be in place right from the start. That's the way I feel about it. Tom says, genuine question from a European perspective. Why do Americans never question the cost of war or the ridiculously over-the-top military budget, yet question the cost of absolutely everything else? Well, that's not true. That is questioned all the time. Now, the cost of war is questioned regularly. And you'll even see that certainly more on the left, but on both sides of the aisle, I don't think there's much of anybody in America that wouldn't agree that we need to choose our battles more carefully than we have in the past. I believe that as well. But as far as ridiculously over-the-top military budget, the reason is because where we've positioned ourselves within the world. We are, and again, don't get me wrong, it's not like all of Europe can't defend themselves. What I'm saying is, and Europeans leaders would agree with this, America, because we've become the ultimate military might on the planet and have been for decades, we're a lot of what keeps the peace throughout the world. It's not hard to assume that's through the Cold War, even now currently with Russia amping up their nuclear arsenal again, with them investing a lot, and China as well, investing a lot into military research. You need to have a democracy, a free country that's at least their equal and hopefully their superior, because again, even though the Cold War is over, there's still an element of mutually assured destruction keeping the peace. We don't have the option right now, I don't believe, on the international stage to allow ourselves to be supplanted as the ultimate military power without it having a dramatic effect on the entirety of the world. Iran is all gung-ho trying to upgrade their offensive capabilities. It's not a time where we can afford to spend less on military. Choosing our wars where we're involved in battles, yes, I think we can be much more prudent and do a much better job of that. But I don't think we are in a position where we can just say, oh, well. And one of the things that gets me too, though, is you'll have people, especially the socialists, tell you all the time, well, you had this conflict that cost this amount of money and this conflict cost that amount of money. That's all money you can put right back into the economy. So what you're saying is you want to cut the military budget to where if there is a legitimate need to defend ourselves, we don't have the money there because some of those other wars you don't think were necessary. That's why. We are in a spot where we have to have a strong military, period. I think to keep this planet from being in a new world order, it's a gotta thing. I agree. U.S. helped keep the peace in the Western world. Doubt any other country outside the West would agree, though. Only part of Trump actually like his position on Syria. U.S. needs to hang back. Yeah, and that's what I mean, Tom. That's why I think it's a drastic and dangerous oversimplification for the people in America from the left that say, oh, well, we can just cut the military spending and then we can have pre-K for all. No, sorry. A powerful military in the current state of affairs in the world is way more important than pre-K for all. It just, in my opinion, it is. What's with... Zombie Warrior says, with what's going on right now, I'm concerned World War III will happen. And that actually relates back to what Tom and I are talking about. I think one of the things that prevents World War III from happening is the powers that do not like Western ideals know that they certainly can't get a slam dunk win as long as America has this level of military might. And they can't get an intimidation victory even with America having this level of military might. I'm positive nobody in Europe would feel comfortable, particularly with their proximity to Russia, if America's military abilities fell off precipitously. It's the way things have unfolded, and whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, it's our burden to bear now as Americans, I believe. Well, a large part of the U.S.'s military budget, Chrome says, comes from my own country and others not paying fully for their own military defenses, which is an issue we should, especially with rising tensions. Right, and the thing of it is, though, too, Chrome, and then Chrome makes a good point. Now, this is what you really get into, taking the whole thing, now we can relate it back to what we're talking about, the Nordic countries and some of these countries that have some form of democratic socialism. They don't have a military budget. A lot of the reason they can get away with not having a military budget to speak of, I shouldn't say they don't have a military budget. They don't have a military budget of any significance. A large part of that reason, whether people like to admit it or not, is the powerhouse of the West, which is America. So, like Chrome says, it would be nice for them to be able to defend themselves further, but now in these countries that already have a substantially higher tax rate than do we, whoa, man, military stuff costs lots and lots of money. People wouldn't be able to live in a lot of those nations. If you decided to amp up their military spending, people wouldn't be able to live. Let's see. Some people in the U.S. underestimate the dangers out in the world. Oh, absolutely, James. They most certainly do. It just boggles my mind. We cannot afford to fall behind militarily, particularly from a technological standpoint, which is where a lot of the money goes. We have to stay on top of the technology. If we show any weakness in that area, I think something big would happen. Even if it's not a military conflict, you would have encroachment by powers that would prefer that America not be the top dog anymore. Taylor says a lot of European countries have started to increase their military budget lately. Yeah, I have seen that. And no, you forget about the joint UN army. That's why, not because of just the West. You lost me on the second half, Taylor. What do you mean? I forgot about the joint UN army. The joint UN army is all the nations' militaries together. And again, I'm not poo-pooing away any of Europe's militaries, but it's not my opinion. It's a fact that America's military is the most advanced in the world. It's, at least to this point, it still is. And it's the biggest, the strongest, and the most advanced. And it's the heart of that UN joint military force. Again, people may not like hearing that, but it's a fact. Sly says, it blows my mind that some people want to allow everyone to have the ability to just freely flood into the country without any documentation or regulation. Yeah, you get that. I mean, that you get the hippie types that are, oh, no, man, there can't have borders. Borders are archaic, man. Yeah, it's like that would be the end of society as we know it for certain. Because the fact is, people within their individual countries, wherever it may be, the majority of them have built a life of a certain type, and that's what they want to live. And if you close down those borders and say, well, everybody comes in, now you don't get to live that certain life because everyone will bring in their own particular way of doing things and their own parameters as far as, let's say, okay, let's say from a lot of the Middle Eastern countries where women are second-class citizens still, and gays are stoned. We don't want that kind of influence here in America. That's not the society we built, and that's why borders are important. Rwan says the U.S. is making the world safer. Hell no, as far as I'm concerned, the policy in Iraq and Syria made the East one of the most dangerous places. Well, you can have a point about policy errors, Rwan. Without question, that leads back to what I had said about we need to pick and choose our battles better. But as far as making the world safer, no, I stand by that simply because you have serious enemies of the West in Russia, Iraq, and to a lesser degree China, who would take huge advantage, and China would in an instant in the China Sea would take advantage if it weren't for the United States' military might. There's a lot of those islands in there China's dying to get their hands on. There's already been a few issues between Chinese and U.S. military in that area. It's kind of tense down there. But again, nobody wants to be the one to throw the first punch because America can punch as hard as anybody else or harder. My stance on climate and environmental issues. You mean basically climate change? See, I've read up a lot on that. I see what they're saying. Don't get me wrong, seeing with my limited scientific wherewithal, what they're saying about man having an effect on climate change. And then they do make a strong case on the other side when you see the actual patterns weather patterns that have hit this planet throughout history, that we're basically still in that same type of pattern. My take on that is you err on the side of caution. You do everything you can to try and do less damage to the earth. But at the same time, I think it's more important that we put a lot of resources into what to do if the worst case happens than trying to prevent it, because there's a good chance, whether you believe it's because of the damage we've already done or because it's the cyclical nature of the planet, there's a good chance we're not going to stop something environmentally happening that's major. So to me, it's almost like, okay, you do what you can without decimating your society to try and be more responsible, but you put your focus on how to handle things when they go wrong, because they very well could be on a path to going wrong that we have no control over. Excuse me. The U.S. is not perfect, but how Russia, China, etc. treat their citizens that don't fall in line, do we want those type of policies worldwide? Right, James, that's what I mean. That's why, like we were just talking about, and that's what James is alluding to, I'm sure, that's why you need borders, because we don't want that. That's not the environment we want here in America. That's not the pervasive attitude we want here in America. So the people that are all about open borders, that's just absolute garbage as far as I'm concerned. Let's see. Filthmonger says there shouldn't be a wall for what it will do. The cost is too high to build and maintain, and staff, and also immigrants come over by planes. Yeah, as I had said, Monger, my take on that is there are sections of the border, I think, that need some more wall. They don't need this entirety of the wall that Trump wants. I think you can spend the money much more effectively through most of the border in means other than a wall. And again, walls are currently working on the border in a lot of places. It all depends on the terrain, the population, so on and so forth. But instead of Trump listening to his people on the border, the border agents who can tell you, okay, we need wall here, we need more surveillance here, we need dogs here, whatever the case may be, instead of listening to them, he made that wall promise that he ran on, and now he feels that he's obligated to it. He's going to see it through no matter what. It's become an ego thing now. Let's see. Cameron says, I've seen people say walls is racist. Why do we need one? The Canadian why don't we need one at the Canadian border then, you racist? Because fucking Canada is one of the strictest on immigration. The thing of it is, Cameron, you know what a lot of people in America don't realize? We have some of the most liberal laws in some of the most liberal laws in the world. A lot of countries are way stricter, including Canada, way stricter on immigration than are we. Well, like people have said all along, why don't you just go jump the border into Mexico and tell them you're part of the system there now and see how that works out for you. Jack Queen says, no, what scientists are saying are that we're not only speeding up climate change, but worsening it. This has happened before, but our actions are making it. Yeah, I don't know what you're saying no to. That I understand what they're saying. And what I'm saying is that there's legitimate reason to believe that they have something there, that it could be. It also could be that it's just the typical cyclical nature of the planet. We don't know. Nobody knows for certain. Even the scientists know that this is their best hypothesis. But given all that, as I said, you err on the side of caution. If you think you're doing something to harm the planet, obviously the smart thing to do is try and move away from those actions and activities that are harming it, while you're looking forward and saying, okay, if we can't stem this tide, what do we do? How do we approach it every step of the way as this all starts to fall apart? But I'm aware of what they're saying. We just addressed it. Oh, thanks, Peanut Butter Toast. Well, he says, he or she says, love the goatee. My facial hair sucks, though. I mean, it's so coarse and hard and hard. Let's see. I saw some. Oh, Team Lead. I haven't read anything of his yet. Imagine it's 2100. Africa has changed the United Kingdom of Africa. They have overall population of 4.4 billion. Dominate precious metals. They think they could overtake USA as number one power. Oh, anything's possible. That far in the future, sure, anything's possible. Particularly Team Lead with not knowing what we might do within our own government here. I mean, we are at a crossroads or close to the crossroads in this nation right now, where it's not beyond the realm of possibility you could see a civil war of some sort. Things have become so heated here. And what a civil war does is it weakens the nation as a whole. And that could easily allow for somebody else to take over the number one spot. Absolutely. Jamie says, how do you feel about the fact people whine that bitch Clinton had the popular vote, but the Electoral College was for Trump? Then they complain that we need to eliminate. That's sour grapes, Jamie. The Electoral College is working just how it was supposed to work, so that the high density population areas cannot dictate who becomes president for the entire nation. It's sour grapes. They're pissed off because they were told their candidate was going to win. They're never going to get over it. And it's like, well, she won the popular vote. Nope. Everybody knew that the rules weren't made up as you went along. Everybody knew you have to win the Electoral College. Hillary dropped the ball on that. She took way too much for granted in the Midwest, and she lost. Period. It's not going to change. To change that constitutional amendment is a process that would never, ever get accomplished. So they can whine about it all they want, and then in the next election, they're going to deal with it, and then the next election, they're going to deal with it after that. So just keep whining. That's why it just gets you just ignore them. Civil War, and that's why Tony Stark sucks, Jack Queen says. Chrome says, I think the main problem with dealing with climate change is just politicians use scare tactics to get people to support action, even if their figures are false. It hurts support for climate change. I agree with that too. Well, you got to think, you had AOC. What did she say? If we don't do something now, in 12 years, the planet's going to end. All right. Well, now, it's just what you say, Chrome. Shut up, Train. Somebody says something as monumentally stupid as that, it weakens the case that is actually a very strong case that we might be having an adverse effect on our climate. And then you get people standing up there saying stupid things like that. And the funny thing is, in one breath, AOC is whining about Trump using scare tactics about the border. And in the next breath, she's trying to use scare tactics about climate change with complete falsehoods, the same way Trump does. They're birds of a feather. I don't think either one of them would want to admit it, but they are. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Joe says, America has intruded in other countries time after time, allegedly to save people. We stopped buying these lies a long time ago. It's just game money and power. Yeah, like I say, you guys are we've been involved in places we shouldn't have been involved in. There's no question about that. We definitely need to choose our battles better. Again, I have no problem admitting to that. My issue isn't admitting to that. It's saying that when people talk about the military budget and say, well, if we hadn't gone into this war and we hadn't gone into that war, we'd have saved this much money so we can cut that from the budget. No, because just because maybe we shouldn't have been involved in those conflicts doesn't mean you don't keep the military up to a certain level and keep that money in the purses in case you actually do have to go into a legitimate war. That's all I'm saying. But yes, us being involved in places we shouldn't have, I've said that for years. I've seen that. Yeah, we don't. As far as I'm concerned, the way the rest of the world goes, we should be involved if there's a legitimate and immediate threat to us. For instance, if ISIS had a very strong and effective place in the Middle East where they could use it as a base of operations to get to us, then yeah, we might have to intervene. That's a direct threat. Outside of that, I think what we owe is to our allies. I think to Europe, to Japan, to all the great allies we've had over the years, it's basically to say, listen, for whatever it's worth, we built this mighty military that is the strongest in the world, and we got your back. It's an oversimplification, but that should be where it stands. So if somebody else has an issue, or even if it's on a smaller scale, and somebody who's been your friend forever, if England, if the UK themselves comes to you and says, hey, listen, you want to back me up here? You say yes, because that's what we do. But outside of that, no, we get involved in things way too often that we shouldn't even be involved in. Do you think James, do you think universal/free healthcare would work in the U.S.? Well, first of all, I don't believe in it. There is no such thing as free healthcare because somebody pays for it. So, do I think universal healthcare will work as far as like a single payer system? No, absolutely not. The cost is just so extreme, and the cost, when they use their numbers, what they like to conveniently leave out of these figures is the fact that you're going to have huge percentage more people going to the doctor all the time. Do any of you guys not know a hypochondriac? Do any of you guys not know somebody who will go to the doctor because they don't want to go to work that day? Oh, you need a doctor's note? Well, I got health insurance. I'll go. The problem with that is that's going to backlog everything. We have a shortage of medical professionals in this country now. It would exacerbate it to no end. No, what I think should take place is I like the idea of tax incentives for businesses that give good health care to their employees. And beyond that, the system that already exists, Medicare and Medicaid, where we make sure that those who can't work, are disabled, are elderly, whatever reason, they're not able to get out there and go get the things they need in life themselves, and that we take care of them. That's how I think it should work. Put it this way, I think we have... Oh, and I do keep forgetting to mention this as a big part of it. Now, I don't want to overstate it because I think sometimes the pharmaceutical company takes too much of a beating. You got to remember, yes, some drugs are expensive, but they do invest billions into research. You know, the pharmaceutical research in America is more expensive than any place else in the world as far as monetarily. So they should be allowed to reap those benefits. However, I do think that because if you're going to go into that field, listen, I got no problem with you going into the field of medicine, of pharmaceuticals, and getting rich. Because if there's opportunity to get rich, that opportunity is generally what will lead to the creation of the next miracle drugs. And people that can do those things, put that time and money into their education, deserve to be paid. However, when you see a drug that's out there, and however a dosage of it costs $5. Now, and this has happened on a number of occasions, they find out that this drug also works on something else, other than what it was initially intended, and it's something that people are going to need to stay alive, and now that dosage costs $2,000, then we got a problem. I think the drug companies should have to be upfront on the table with this. When it comes to this drug, this is what the total cost was in research and development. This is what it costs to manufacture. This is what we charge. I think there should be limitations on what that percentage is at the top side. I think just knocking them off at the knees a little bit there, the pharmaceutical companies, would not inhibit progress, but would bring down the costs exponentially. Maz says universal health care in the U.S. would completely screw over smaller states. How would the poorer states maintain whatever mandates the union requires them to provide said health care? Yeah, Maz, and the thing of it is, single payer or universal health care of that nature, I believe, is just going to have such a dramatically larger price tag than what they allow for. Who do you think is going to pay for it? This garbage about, well, we're gonna tax the super rich. That's a drop in the bucket. It wouldn't pay for more than a few days worth of coverage for everybody in the nation. They're gonna come get it from the working folks, and that's backed up. So many people in this country like to point to other countries. It's backed up there. They pay much higher rate. They either pay on sales taxes or fees or income taxes much higher rates than do we to pay for it. And we've got 360 million people here now? It's going to be a substantial bill. Philip Munger says, the student loan system is broken, has fucked most students as student about to enter college. I'm scared of shitless spending life paying off student debt. Yeah, I'm with you in some degree, and we're experiencing that right now with Braxton College. Again, free college for all, can't do it. You'll destroy the economy. There are ways to cut corners. And so, what irritates me, though, is the prestige of certain universities. Because a lot of what drives this cost up is, and we see it with what we went through with Brax going to school, certain people want to have the prestige of that degree from Yale, from an Ivy League school, from wherever it may be, and they overpay for their education. Dramatically overpay for their education when they could have the same breadth and wealth of knowledge in a field where they could have gone to a state school and paid substantially less. And the reason that's a big deal is because that's what perpetuates the whole thing and allows all the schools, the private schools particularly, to charge higher rates. So yes, I think something does need to be done about that, but I despise New York. I'm only here because my grandkids are here and my wife and I want to stay near them. However, what they've done here is something that I thought for some time they've helped with the burden in their state schools. We felt nothing basically in instituting this policy, but they have, if you go to a state school here, and you make under a certain amount, which is I think how it should be, even though I may make over that amount. Brax may not be getting any of that assistance in his last couple of years in school. I'm fine with that. If you make under a certain amount, they're going to help you with tuition. So you get out of school, you have some debt, but it's not overwhelming. There are ways to do all of these things in the middle to where you don't have to go to another extreme. Well, college should just be free for everybody. No, that just, you don't have to destroy economies to make college more manageable for people. To be honest, Joe says, government doesn't give a shit about ISIS killing innocent people. It's just PR for the military. Excuse me. Saudis are the same, but they got dollars, so we love them. I agree with you on the Saudis as well, Joe. And like I say, in the Curtis administration, that'll be addressed. Now, have the Saudis been something of an ally to us? Sure. Mainly in oil. But as far as the way they treat their people, and I'll tell you, they've done some underhanded things as far as I'm concerned, as far as aiding and abetting our enemies knowingly. I'm not a huge fan. No. I wouldn't say the government doesn't give a shit about ISIS killing innocent people. I don't think that's true. But I do agree with you about the Saudis. I've never understood our love for Saudi Arabia and our unquestioning love for Saudi Arabia, put it that way. Yeah, I agree with you there. Video for Life says, the government is blaming human trafficking and child pornography on anime. Oh, Jesus Christ. and are talking about keeping it out of America. You know a stronger word than dumb? Yeah, it's Video for Life. That goes back to the same thing, same type of thing with blaming video games for violence. Well, you play those violent video games. Listen, I was a little kid out there. We were shooting each other with stick guns. We were having sword battles, and we were cutting off each other's heads. It's part of imagination. If you got a defective mind and you can't tell playtime from reality, that's the problem, period. It doesn't matter if you play video games or you play in your yard again with sticks that are guns. If it's the individual that's the issue. Yeah, I'm with Video for Life. That stuff, that just infuriates me. That gets my head ready to explode. A degree from Harvard is worth more than one from Stanford. Should they not pay more? Don't have an opinion either way. Well, no, Jack Quinn, certain degrees. That's I should have been more specific about that. It depends on your field. For instance, you guys know I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. A Notre Dame degree carries a lot of weight, but it carries way more weight if it's in the field of business, because they have the Mendoza School, which is world renowned as one of the best business schools. So if you're willing to invest, and that's what the kid should be thinking, is paying what I would have to pay to go to Notre Dame to get that Mendoza School degree. Will that pay me enough over my lifetime to be worth not just going to this state school and getting a business degree? That's the call you got to make. And if you say, no, I'm going to the state school, that's the chance you take. But it does, if they're not filling the Mendoza School seats, the price is going to come down. That's what I'm trying to say. But in general, in certain fields, I don't think that your degree being from a specific university is necessarily worth all that much more. If you got a basic mathematics degree, Braxton has a friend going through that right now. Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute is a local university. It's basically Ivy League level, but in engineering. Fantastic engineering school. Phenomenal. Well, his friend went for the first year there for engineering, and he decided, you know what, I don't even want to do engineering. I'm just going to go be a math major. And because he's smart, he's like, well, I'm transferring out of here, and I'm going to a state school, because RPI is a prestigious degree in engineering. If it's a math major, why spend all that money? It doesn't matter if you got the degree from a state school or RPI. That level of paying off what you've accomplished because it says RPI on it isn't there for a math major. So I think it's just, there's a lot of bad decisions, and again, it comes from kids. And we all make bad decisions when we're kids. You hope parents are there to help guide them and say, listen, it's not worth it. What you're paying for that degree to have that school's name on it is not worth it. Go to the state school. Jamie says, Spaz Kid is lucky he has you? My dad refused to help me. Not only did I have to wait till I was 24 to get aid because the government saw me as dependent, then I couldn't get grant. Oh, that's too bad, Jamie. No, I don't want Brax leaving school with tons of debt, so I incurred all of his school debt. He's got a couple small loans, because again, too, he's going to have a good degree. He's going to have a versatile degree, or I wouldn't be paying for it. He can get out, he can work, he can pay off his debts and start learning life's responsibilities, but I didn't want him to have huge debts, so I'm spending a lot of it. Well, thanks, Gojira. I appreciate that. Climate change is a natural process, not a man-made process. We were talking about that, Ash. Both sides make a really strong case when you read up on it. They really do. But my take on that is, okay, err to the side of safety, but not the Green New Deal AOC side of safety, to where you completely disrupt life in the nation and destroy the economy over it. You start trying to move that way as best you can and prepare for the fallout of climate change. Patrick says, I hate how when any AAA game that comes out, or game console like the PS Vita, the news says you have to have access to the internet, therefore you have access to porn. Yeah. The things we worry about, Patrick, sometimes as a nation we worry about. Jesus Christ. Kat says, thanks for making videos. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's kind of you to say. Would you pay for it if you want to get a gender studies degree? Nope, I would not gone. I told him that, and I was right up front with him. I didn't tell him what he has to take. But Braxton never even had a consideration. He's a smart kid with things like that. I said, if you're going to get a garbage degree, I'm not paying for it. because it's ridiculous. It's a waste of your time. So he's going. Obviously his major is in computer science, specifically in game design, and his minor's in psychology. So it's like the kids should never have a problem finding a job. That degree covers so many different areas. He should be fine. But yes, you're right. If he said I want to get a gender studies degree, I would have said that's fine. Pay for it, because I'm not. Nacho, just saying hi. I hate working. I can never stay. Oh, thanks for stopping in while you could, Nacho. I'll try. I keep saying that, and every day the schedule gets messed up. I will try and start doing some streams, like maybe this. I usually start between like 1 and 2 p.m. my time. Maybe I can get some in at 3 to 4, maybe even a little later, just to mix it up, because I know a lot of people have different, like Nacho. A lot of people are working. I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, I couldn't make the stream. I got classes." So I'll try, guys. I will try and break them up a little bit. Let's see. I wish my dad felt that way. Jamie says, I can't fall in front of me to do it myself, and I'm behind. I'm 34, so far behind education than my friends. Yeah, that's tough, Jamie. Again, I know everybody's got a different way of looking at it, and I don't disparage anyone for how they do things, but I just didn't want Brax getting out of school with a ton of debt. Ma says, I love the fact that GLAAD is shitting on Trump for this legalized homosexuality across the planet initiative. Gays bitching about Trump trying to promote tolerance towards gays. That got me too mad. I don't understand that at all. I mean, that was one of the few times I saw that come out in the news, for those who don't know what they're talking about, in the Trump administration making a big push towards legalizing homosexuality throughout the world. In other words, putting pressure on areas of the world where gay people are still, half the time they're thrown off buildings or something, but it's illegal to be gay type thing. And like Maz says, there were some gay activist groups that came out against him doing it almost, or not almost did. And it's like, Trump derangement syndrome has to actually be a thing then. You hate this guy so much, you can't accept being on the same side of an issue with him, even if it's protecting the people that you represent. It's just, it's amazing. Oh, I am Mega Ultrasonic doing the same degree? Yeah, like I said, it's a good degree. It's a good versatile degree. You'll work all the time. Thoughts on Elizabeth Warren? I've never liked her as Easy Gaming. I think Elizabeth Warming. We're talking about global warming and Elizabeth Warren. I just threw them together. I think Elizabeth Warren, even as politicians go, is just an absolute opportunist. And I think right now she's feeling the input or the effect that the far left is having on the Democratic Party, and I think she's willing to just go running that way. And in fairness, it's not just because it's the left. I felt the same way years ago when it was the Tea Party and the extreme right was taking over the Republicans. I started leaning away from them. So no, I don't care for Elizabeth Warren. As I said, of the Democrats, I could tolerate Joe Biden, and I like Amy Klobuchar. Outside of that, Cameron says Trump says something. Yeah, Obama same thing. It's something that you would say is just an overused adage and people are being ridiculous, but they're not. Trump derangement syndrome is a thing. And again, I understand how unlikable the guy is. Don't get me wrong. Even though I support his policies, I see him as an unlikable douche. But you're making things worse when you oppose everything he says or does automatically. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Even if maybe in the long run it benefits you. I mean, it's just gotten off. The tipping point for me was, you guys know my education was in journalism. And so I've always, that's always had a place for me anyway. And when the New York Times ran an opinion piece by an anonymous author, to me, at that point, they lost any defense against saying that the press is anything but fake news. That is the ultimate. I know most of you aren't into journalism. I was dumbfounded. I was not a fan of the Times anyway because, again, they'd gone so far leaning one side against the other that I don't think they're objective. But when you can post an opinion piece. That is like the first rule in journalism, in newspapers. If you're going to post an opinion piece, you have to stand behind it with your name, which is perfectly understandable because nobody should pay any attention to it otherwise. You stand behind it with your face and your name. This is my opinion. This is why I believe it, and I'm the one saying it. When they were willing to suspend that just because they hate Trump so much, it's like all the bets were off at that point. It is, Taylor. The New York Times, a lot of press, they are just shit nowadays. CNN pisses me off. Not because I've always hated them, the opposite. I used to love CNN. CNN was my homepage on my computer. It was one of my default channels. Like, we all have default channels if we're in front of the TV. Mine were like ESPN, CNN was there. Because just to catch up on what's going on. And they always had a left-leaning bias. It's all right. You can live with that. It's like, okay, it's bound to happen. But I like them. They cover the news pretty much fairly. Again, they had a little left-leaning bias, but you got the basic crux of what was going on. And I noticed it. It was at the point when after Trump had been nominated, and it started to look like there were a number of states he could actually be competitive in, CNN went off the rails. They just went completely left. They became nothing but a mouthpiece for the left. I think they were one of the ones that they might have been patient zero for Trump derangement syndrome. And it pisses me off because I like that network. And now I never watch it because it's nothing but crap from the left. It's left, and it's every day. It's, well, Trump did this, that was ridiculous. Trump wants 2 scoops of ice cream. They ran with that for a week, and then you can't even get any international news because they're so busy talking about Trump or Stormy Daniels. It's just, and it pisses me off because I love that network. Pew News, I've heard of them, Taylor. I gotta look them up. I've had other people tell me Pew News is a good source of news, and I've never really looked into it. I've heard that name a bunch of times. I gotta remember to do that. Let's see. Okay, I didn't catch that. Phil is going for a career in animation and game design. Even with me improving in art skills and keeping an honor roll level grades, my parents still don't think it's a good choice. I think it's a good choice, Filthmonger, because obviously game design is computer science. You're going to have the computer science courses. You're going to be a computer scientist. You have to be in the game design. And the reason I was all for it is because that covers so many different fields. You're going to be able to get a job so many different places. I personally think I'm glad Brax went into that. It allows him the opportunity to pursue his dream, which is to someday make a video game, and at the same time gives him the education he needs to go out there in the real world and get a real job. 2 scoops of whale semen, Wolverine says. Chrome's last comment? Okay, I'll check that quick. Hey, Curtis, have you heard about the Jump Force DLC data mine? No. We know all the DLC characters now. Oh, really? Boo, Bisky! I love Bisky! I heard about Kaiba. Somebody told me that Seto Kaiba was supposed to be coming. All Might and Bakugo are coming as well as Bleach One Piece. Oh, nice! I heard the only ones I had heard about, and I didn't know where they got the information, but I had heard that Seto Kaiba and Bakugo, but I didn't know about Boo, Bisky, or All Might. Oh, that's cool! That's freaking awesome! I gotta get it. I haven't had any time for playing. That's why I haven't streamed it again. I want to get better at it before I stream for you guys again. I love that game. It's so much fun. Oh, Pew News is PewDiePie. Oh, okay. That's what people were talking about. Yeah, but you know what? Then I have seen Pew News. Because I've said all along, I like PewDiePie better now than I did when he was doing gaming. And I don't necessarily agree with everything he says, but I like the way he presents things. Yeah, I enjoy PewDiePie. That's, again, I've watched more of PewDiePie in his current state than I had when he was into gaming. Tom says, thoughts on Trump being funded by Kaiba Corp. My thoughts are, screw the rules. We have money. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that either, Joe. I only knew about those two. That's cool. I like that. Let's see. Samantha, Hey, Curtis, you ever coming to a con in Oklahoma? I would love to meet you. I just started working on a Darts female cosplay version. I want to go to more cons, Samantha. I really do. We had such a good time when we went to Comic-Con. I can never promise because you never, know what's going to come up with my family and this, that, and the other. But I certainly would love to. Absolutely love to. I had such a good time. Okay, guys, unfortunately, I got to go. I still got a lot of editing to do for the day, and we're hoping to put up another Disney video. I want to get the, I'll give you guys the first peek. We're going to be doing a giveaway on the Disney side. We're giving away Mushu. I can't, hold on, I got to get my monitor to see if I'm actually showing it to you guys or not. We're going to be giving away a Mushu. This is a special series Disney is doing in 2019. It's one character a month, every month. And that, one of the things they give away, obviously, is a plush. And that's February's. Mushu is February's. What the hell, what's going on here? Stop it. So we're going to be doing a Mushu giveaway. So I don't know if I'll have enough time to get that video up today or tomorrow. It's going to be a combination of Mushu, and it's going to be a discussion about the Bibbidi Bobbidi boutiques at Disney World and whether or not they're worth the money, because people ask us that all the time. Any of the cons, Fieldmonger, I would love to go to them. So there's no, you're there, pal. No, you're not. You're definitely not blocked. I see it right here. It's probably oh, you're seeing them on. I'm on live chat, right? I will say this: we still have issues with Susan every so often, and we don't know why. So and it's even happened to me. I've gone to type things in the chat. I type it, hit enter, and it doesn't show up. So I don't know if that happened to you, but no, I can see you. Joe says, Pew News is the most reputable and respectable news source out there, with brave journalists who are not supposed to give their opinions, yet still do. I like that. I didn't even put that together. That's PewDiePie. And like I said, I like Pewds and his take on things. Jamie says, who has the bigger ego, Trump or Kaiba? Oh, that's Battle of the Titans right there, Jamie. I gotta give Trump a little bit of an edge, even over Seto Kaiba. Weird, my last comment did, yeah, Soder. It's Susan just screwing with us. You know she likes doing that. He'll take care of all that, but not in his freshman year, Chrome. They helped him with that, with all that networking and everything as they go, but it's a little too early yet. And we went back talking. I should stop mentioning that since it does happen every stream. Junior, what are the social pressures you think men face? I don't know. I don't think the social pressures men face are anything any more exorbitant or special than... I think right now the whole #MeToo movement has put a lot of pressure on men simply because I think a lot of guys in the dating world are afraid to even say hi to someone. But other than that, ego or narcissism, both. Both, Mateo. And they go hand in hand anyway, but yeah, absolutely both. Hey, yeah, I gotta go. I get talking to you guys. I don't want to stop. I gotta go. Again, I gotta get those edits done. I'm hoping to get that Disney one up, and I want to get the next Samurai Champloo up over at the Goosh, because we got 2 Samurai Champloos left before the end of the month. We got another Mob Psycho 100 for the end of the month, and 2 more Usagi drops, so I want to make sure I get all of them in. Alright guys, thank you guys so much for this chat. I had a good time with it. Next one I'll probably try and mix it up. We'll do maybe some more anime chat, something like that on the next one. But thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for all the great conversation. This is a blast. And I will talk to you guys as soon as I can. I'll get those videos up for you guys both over at the Goosh, and it seems like we've gotten a good run going in over at the YouTube channel. The days I post, now it'll be One Piece because it was, we caught up My Hero Academia. I'll give you at least 2 per day, so that way I don't have to post them quite as often. You're still getting plenty of content, and I don't have the drag on the channel. So I think we got everything working pretty good. Working as well as a creepy old man can make anything work. Thanks for hanging out with me, you guys. Pumfu. Let's have a sticky stuff party, and we'll bang, okay? Flashily like Buggy, and Buggy's coming. We're just days away from the start of One Piece of the Goosh. I can't wait. But as always, guys, again, weaker constitutions look away because it's Goosh, 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 Goosh.